Member for Soufriere and Minister for Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, permit me to make a statement to this Parliament about a matter currently under discussion in the public domain. This is a matter which spans both administrations, is of national concern, and hence it is imperative that as Minister for Planning, I put things in context and give an accurate record of the chronology of events surrounding Block 0025B, Parcel 4 in Anse L'Ivrogne, Soufriere within the Pitons management area. Let me first reassure all St. Lucians that this present administration has been responsible and undertaken every precaution to ensure that the development does not threaten the UNESCO World Heritage Site status of the Pitons, which our nation achieved in 2004. As has been assured by the chairman of the Development Control Authority, the project at Anse L'Ivrogne is in keeping with the limits of acceptable change study of 2013, which was endorsed and adopted by the cabinet of the former Prime Minister by date of cabinet conclusion number 242 of 2015, which also speaks to utilizing the LAC study and its associated recommendations as a tool for appraising applications for development within the PMA. Mr. Speaker, I have visited the site of the project myself, and it is clear that the project is being closely monitored by the relevant competent authority, and that the developer has paid close attention to environmental preservation and is only building within the footprint of a structure which was already erected at the site in the policy number 1 area. It is also important to note, Mr. Speaker, that 1, there are currently approximately 120 persons from the community of Choiseul and Soufriere employed on the project. Over 1,000 trees will be replanted, and a nursery for the plants currently exists next to the site. The home is 3,500 square feet and is being constructed on foundation which previously existed. The developer and contractors are committed and have continued to abide by strict development rules. Beach access in the area remains public, and in fact, the developer has improved the road access to the beach. A public car park area which didn't exist before has been allocated by the developer, and the developer has also commenced assisting the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation with improving the Gros Pitons Nature Trail. As a government, we will continue to monitor this project closely to ensure it stays within the guidelines of the LAC study and it does not compromise the PMA. Notwithstanding that this project meets the criteria outlined by the DCA, there are some who have over the last few weeks tried to paint the picture that our administration has somehow put the Pitons in jeopardy, and they have, as usual, sought to prey, spin, and spread the usual propaganda. Mr. Speaker, of course, the spinners have deliberately left out key facts when it comes to all the approvals, assurances, and letters of comfort they provided, not just to the current developer, but to the previous owners of Mondesi Estates, whom they know intricately. Mr. Speaker, permit me to review the chronology of events which led to this development and the designation of the Canadian gentleman currently building as an approved developer by the former Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in a letter dated 21st of April 2015, the then owners of Mondesi Estates wrote to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Energy, Science and Technology, seeking clarification and pleading their case as to why they needed to sell one of the largest estates near the Pitons. In order for this House to understand the issues associated with this area and the grievances of many private landowners near the Pitons, it is important that I read a section of the letter which was sent to the then Permanent Secretary and also CC'd to the then Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Kenny Anthony, and his then Minister for Sustainable Development, Honorable Jimmy Fletcher, as well as the Minister for Physical Planning, Honorable Stanley Felix, along with the two local lawyers, one for the potential buyer who had already put down his deposit on the land, and one for the owners of the land, the Mondesi family. And part of it goes, Mr. Speaker, through you. As a local landowner of one of the larger estates who would be directly impacted by any decision, I attended several meetings during which I expressed our family's concerns, given that any decision taken would affect the future development of the said lands and by extension would have financial implications for us, the owners. I was assured that a site visit with the consultants would be arranged and that our concerns would have been taken into account. Regretfully, that meeting never materialized. More importantly, we were never informed of any decision that was to be taken or of the proposed recommendations of the study. We have only found out through third-party affiliates that the entire estate is placed within a no-bill zone. This revelation is troubling, and if substantiated, brings with it some serious financial and legal implications regarding the recent sale of the property as a private residential estate. In addition to all of this, our family's reputation as honest and fair-minded citizens is at stake if we cannot completely honorably our obligation to consummate the sale due to the adoption, in our view, of an unbalanced, biased, unreasonable, and unfair set of recommendations. We seek explicit clarification and direction on the way forward, as Mr. Robillard intends to build his vacation home within the site of the demolished estate house. This indeed is the primary reason for purchasing the property. As proud St. Lucians, we have supported the preservation of the Pitons as a World Heritage Site and appreciate the need to maintain its natural beauty. Our support, however, does not extend to the confiscation of all the privately held lands that surround them at whatever cost to the landowners. It is as a result of our family's belief in the concept that the Twin Pitons are of international and local significance that we were extremely selective in passing our rightful patrimony to an individual who has the financial capability to develop a small portion of the land for a private residence, while demonstrating his respect for the UNESCO guidelines. And of course, Mr. Speaker, this is a letter from the Administrator of Mondesi Estates to the then PS of Ministry of Sustainable Development, dated 21st of April, 2015. Mr. Speaker, by letter dated April 28, 2015, the Permanent Secretary of the then Ministry of Sustainable Development, Energy, Science and Technology wrote to a representative of Mondesi Estates Limited, providing clarification on guidelines for development of block and parcel 0025B4. Based on this correspondence, the estate representative was informed that the property block 0025 parcel 4 is located within the PMA, and guidelines to halt significant and irreversible effects on this area were developed by the government of St. Lucia and are contained in the PMA and Soufriere Regional Integrated Development Plan, otherwise known as the Hyder Report 2008, and the Limits of Acceptable Change LAC Study of 2013. The representative was also informed of the following. The LAC Study 2013 does, however, recommend that a small-scale development in the Anse L'Ivrogne River Valley, setback from the beach, will be considered if, one, it meets in full the limits of acceptable change and design guide for the PMA World Heritage Site, is restricted to local needs and or for conservation purposes. The estate representative was also informed by the then Ministry of Sustainable Development, Energy, Science and Technology that the buffer zone, according to the HIDA report of 2008, forms part of the PME and is to be, one, limited to modest village growth or community, residential employment, and tourism use. Development is to be within or adjacent to existing settlements and with the steeper slopes protected from development. And three, buildings are to be limited to 2 stories and footprints not to exceed 186 square meters or 2,000 square feet. So, Mr. Speaker, here you have a family who has owned land for decades in Soufriere near the Pitons. The land falls within the PMA, and they are now asking for assurances that the new buyer of the land can build. By letter dated May 12, 2015, the family's representative thanked the Permanent Secretary for the clarification. The correspondence also indicated the following. According to the LAC study of 2013, Policy Area 1 recommends that a small-scale development in the Anse L'Ivrogne River Valley setback from the beach will be considered if it, one, meets in full the limits of acceptable change and design guidelines for the PMA World Heritage Site. The buffer zone development is to be within or adjacent to existing settlements and with the steeper slopes protected from development, which according to the HIDA report would be lands above the 160-meter counter line. The letter went on to indicate, in consideration of 1 and 2 above, and in recognition of the need to be in full compliance with the recommendations set out by your ministry and the Ministry of Physical Development, Housing and Urban Renewal, it is only fair to assume that the request for the development of a residence by the owners be deemed acceptable. By letter dated June 10, 2015, a local barrister, writing on behalf of a senior business executive of Canada, wrote to the then Minister for Physical Planning, Housing and Urban Renewal, informing that his client has entered an agreement for sale dated January 23, 2015, paying the requisite deposit for the acquisition of lands in the Anse L'Ivrogne area in Soufriere for the purpose of constructing an eco-friendly multi-family villa and associated amenities to be used as a vacation unit. The letter further indicated that the investigations have revealed that the property is located in the PMA, and it has been drawn to our client's attention that there might be difficulty in being allowed to build on the property given its location. The letter went on to state, in the circumstances, we are seeking clarification from you, or indeed your ministry, that our client can in fact build on the property, of course, in accordance with the approval of the DCA on satisfying the necessary building requirements. The letter further stated that our clients are in the process of getting an artist impression and floor plan for the property, but would need confirmation that they can in fact build on the property and perhaps a certified drawing from the ministry showing which area they can build upon or the building footprint can be placed. By letter dated September 16, 2015, the then Minister for Physical Development, Housing and Urban Renewal wrote to the lawyer informing that the proposed development falls within the Pitons management area and as such is subject to the rules governing all such lands. The letter further stated, Mr. Speaker, that notwithstanding the rules, the letter further stated that notwithstanding the rules does provide for the construction of one family home on the basis that the developer is a local concern. It continued to state that the design would be subject to the provisions of the limits of acceptable change and the DCA. The letter urged the submission of an application for consideration at the soonest. By letter dated October 27, 2015, the lawyer wrote on behalf of his client to the then Prime Minister requesting incentives pursuant to the Special Development Area Act. The letter indicates the following. Most of the property is located in the World Heritage Site, and as such, it is our client's desire to have designed and erected an eco-friendly luxury property to be enjoyed by visitors in keeping with the area. After reviewing the LAC report and discussion with the relevant ministry, the client is satisfied, and as such is looking to close the deal on Friday, 30th October 2015. In the premises, pursuant to the Special Development Area Act, Cap 15.29, being mindful of government's constraints, both the vendor and purchaser requested that we apply for a 50% waiver of both the stamp duty and vendor's tax on the transaction value at US $8.5 million. By letter dated December 28, 2015, the then Prime Minister of St. Lucia responded to the lawyer and indicated the following. Remember, Mr. Speaker, the lawyer specifically said it falls within the Pitons World Heritage Site in his request to him. Subject to the resolution of all outstanding issues regarding the status of that part of the property which falls within the World Heritage Site, I am pleased to advise you that pursuant to Section 4.2 of the said Act, has been granted status of approved developer. Under this designation, the vendors and purchaser are initially entitled to the following concession: 15% waiver of both the stamp duty and vendor's tax on the purchase of block and parcel 0025B4 for the construction of an eco-friendly luxury property up to a total of CIF value of United States $8,500,000. This concession is applicable for a period of 6 months, ending on June 30th, 2016. After all these assurances, reassurances, and letters of comfort by the former Minister for Physical Development, the then Ministry for Sustainable Development, and the former Prime Minister, the applicant first submitted an application to the Development Control Authority for Block 0025B, Parcel 4, on September 14, 2016. The application was for a touristic proposal for land use and concept for part of approximately 0.4 hectares or 1 acre on Block 0025B, Parcel 4, ARN 722/16. The following were the components of the application, Mr. Speaker: gatehouse, golf carport, 5 units, staff dwelling 2 units, laundry pavilion, farm building, great house, reflecting pool, formal dining pavilion inclusive of kitchen, spa and massage facility, owner's suite, owner's family cottages, 3 units, small guest cottages, 4 units, large guest cottage, new trail for electric cars, large palapas, 2 units, small palapas, 3 units. An assessment and appraisal of the proposal was undertaken by technical staff of the DCA, and a recommendation of rejection was made to the board of the DCA on the following basis. The proposed development site falls within Policy Area 1 of the PMA, and according to the design guide of the limits of acceptable change study adopted by Cabinet on April 20 of 2015, Cabinet Conclusion 242 of 2015, which states the following. No development is permitted in Policy Area 1 with the exception of works to improve existing trails on Gros Pitons, including minor signage and interpretation. At the DCA board meeting of November 9, 2016, the application 722/16 was presented but not considered, and a decision was not taken because the applicant withdrew the application. By letter dated January 16, 2017, the DCA wrote to a representative for the project informing that the developer reapplied to the DCA for the construction of a single-family private dwelling on parcel 0025, block 0025 as 4, in accordance with the requirements of the DCA. On March 13, 2017, the applicant submitted another application to the DCA for approval in principle for land use and concept to construct a 1-story single-family residential building on 2,640.4 square meters or 28,406 square feet of block 0025, parcel 4, ARN 182/17. At the DCA board meeting of April 1, 2017, the application was rejected and the decision communicated to the developer by letter dated April 26, 2017. The basis for the rejection was as follows. The proposed development site falls within Policy Area 1 of the PMA, and according to the LAC study adopted by Cabinet, which states the following. No development is permitted in Policy Area 1 with the exception of works to improve existing trails on Gros Pitons, including minor signage and interpretation. By letter dated April 24, 2017, the DCA wrote to the applicant informing that subsequent to the DCA board meeting of April 21, 2017, it was brought to the attention of the chairman that there may be additional information which could contribute to making an informed decision on the application, and the outstanding information should be submitted by May 10, 2017. By letter dated April 26, 2017, the DCA communicated to the applicant that ARN 182/17 was rejected by the board of the DCA at the meeting of April 21, 2017 on the following basis. The proposed development site falls within Policy Area 1 of the PMA. On June 21, 2017, the Physical Planning section of the Department of Physical Planning received an amended version of the Limits of Acceptable Change Study report from the Department of Sustainable Development. By letter dated January 26, 2018, the DCA wrote to the applicant elaborating on the DCA board's rejection of ARN 182/17 and recommended that the applicant explore options of presenting a proposal for the development of the part of the property which fits the description of the base of the valley provision for Policy Area 1 in conformance with the LAC study as well as the mapping documents provided by the DCA. On November 21, 2018, the applicant submitted another application to the DCA for approval to construct a single-family residential building with a floor area of 325 square meters or 3,497 square feet, down from 28,000 square feet. The application was approved by the DCA on November 23, 2018, and the decision communicated to the applicant by letter dated December 4, 2018. Mr. Speaker, I listed the chronology of events leading to the approval of this project in order to leave no doubt in anyone's mind as to where this all began and the issues we are faced with as a country. You cannot bury your heads in the sand and shirk your responsibility or pretend or spin the letters and assurances that you signed or members of your cabinet endorsed. Mr. Speaker, I am from the beautiful town of Soufriere, and I know many families that have been impacted with the lands which now form part of the PMA. The fact is, there are existing communities within the PMA. The point of the limits of acceptable change study was to ensure we find that balance. Let me say once again, the Pitons are not being sold. The World Heritage status is not at risk. After all the promises and assurances given by the former administration, as a government, we have worked with the developer to scale down the development in keeping with the guidelines of the PMA. Mr. Speaker, I know the season we are in. However, as responsible representatives of the people, we must recognize that this issue is too important for us to play cheap politics. Let us discuss the facts regarding the PMA, taking into account the plight of the families who own private lands near the PMA, the rules and guidelines established to manage development within the PMA, the protection of livelihoods, and the protection and preservation of our World Heritage Site. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.